Are now live. Okay, if anybody got on early, no smart Alice remarks there. She was trying to tickle me here a little bit ago.
Just make sure you're awake.
Okay, anybody that's on here will actually start right a few minutes after 8, give an introduction. So we'll just let's see who's coming on. So
Okay. And
by the way, this is being recorded.
okay, great.
So people can look at it later on there, and
Right.
we'll see what happens here. What district is yours?
10A.
10A.
I don't have a pen. Do they have to do it, or do they just watch on Facebook?
They just watch on Facebook. We
So
won't
you'll
see
never
them.
know them.
No.
Okay. Do they get little hearts for you?
No,
Oh,
we don't do that.
John. You have no idea how many people are.
Mhm.
You don't have any idea how people watch or anything.
I can't hear you.
I have no idea how many people are watching.
No, I don't know.
Okay.
Can I go through my whole opening pitch? It's about a minute long.
Oh yeah, we'll go as long as people are asking questions and we have energy.
Okay. All right.
Well, hi to Perham. Welcome, Lillian. So we know we have one now.
All
so
right.
Let's get started here. It's 8 o'clock right now. For those of you that don't know, I'm AJ, sometimes called John Peters. This is my wife, Kathy, and Julia Hip from 10A, basically Morrison, and what other counties do you have?
Aiken, a little bit of Crow Wing, Kennebec.
Okay. So she's running for House 10A. I'm running for U.S. Congress against Michelle Fischbach. She's running against Ron Kershaw. And Julia, would you like to tell a little bit about yourself?
Oh, yes. Yeah, as AJ said, I'm running for a House seat in District 10A. And I'm, first of all, thanks for the opportunity, AJ. Thanks for setting this up. And I'm a dedicated individual who believes in hard work, integrity, and decency. and equity. And I bring a unique blend of experiences as a mother, businesswoman, an athlete, a hunter, and an advocate to my leadership approach. My campaign is built on 5 pillars: economic development, affordable housing, affordable healthcare, habitat, clean water, and education. These pillars are interconnected. You can't address one effectively without considering the others. Freedom and democracy are at the core of my vision for a better Minnesota. I believe in uniting people and lifting them up. Healing our nation means confronting deep-rooted inequalities and implementing bold solutions to address them. Healthcare is personal to me as a cancer survivor. I understand the importance of quality healthcare for all Minnesotans. In making healthcare accessible and affordable, including drug prices, is a top priority for me. Environmental justice is crucial in the face of a warming climate, and we feel the impact not only in the urban, but in our rural communities. And I will advocate for sustainable solutions, such as environmental practices and conservation of our natural resources, including habitat conservation. As a bird hunter and outdoor enthusiast, I am passionate about preserving the outdoor experience for the current and future generations. Bird hunting plays a vital role in habitat conservation, but also it's supporting our local economies and businesses in our rural communities. Clean water is not just about our lakes and waterways, it's about quality of our drinking water. Again, as a cancer survivor, I understand the importance of clean water for our health. We must address threats like water contamination and cyber attacks on our water system to ensure a safe and secure water supply. And so together, we can work towards a better, brighter future for Minnesotans where economic prosperity, affordable housing, affordable healthcare, and environmental sustainability, and quality education with mental health services are accessible to all and respect for human rights for all. And I just want to finish that with what I'm excited about is I believe we are at the dawn. We stand at the dawn of a new era of economic prosperity, growth, and opportunity. We've seen job increases in the past few years. We're seeing inflation come down. Wages are outpacing inflation now. And I believe that this is a sign of progress, but it's just the beginning. And there's much more that we could be doing. Thanks for that. Go ahead, AJ. Thanks.
Yeah, and I'd like to say hi to Jennifer June Becker from Long Prairie. She just left a comment there. Anybody else want to introduce themselves, feel free. But if you have a question, feel free to do that. I'm AJ Peters. I'm running against Michelle Fischbach. I have to endorse everything that Julia said. We're going to get more into the weeds here about healthcare. But right now, I'd like to introduce another cancer survivor sitting to my right, who has a few words to say about women's health. And I would just like to say, it is time we stop making women second-class citizens in our society and in our medical system, that they have rights. They are completely able to make their own decisions if given proper guidance and proper medical care. So Kathy, it's all up to you right now.
John asked me to sit in this evening so that I could give a little bit of a medical background. I am an RN nurse. My field of nursing is geriatrics. However, I have a very broad base to build upon through healthcare for many years. And I went online and said, what are the most pressing problems in rural healthcare for women in Minnesota? I found like 18 different sites that were going to give me all this information back. And basically, they pretty much agreed on the same problems. Heart disease is the number one problem for women in rural areas, especially after menopause. That's due to higher blood pressure, lower estrogen levels lead to more heart attacks. And women are often most misdiagnosed with heart problems uh, and which leads to delayed treatment and can cause higher rates of death. So that is the number one problem in rural healthcare for women is heart disease. But the number two was breast cancer, breast cancer and other kinds of cancers. Um, and it was very interesting that all women in rural Minnesota have a 13% higher chance of getting cancer, breast cancer especially. And it's followed by lung cancer and colon rectal cancer. Now, I found that rural women have 30% more likely chance of getting invasive colon cancer
Whoa.
and than women that live in a metro area. Now, why is that? We don't know. We need more women's health studies.
Yeah.
And this is where John and Julia would be able to help push medical bills through to help get more money and more funding for women's health studies. The women that get the colon rectal cancer are also diagnosed later in life and in later stages. The higher the stage of your cancer, 1 through 5, means the higher chance that you could pass away from cancer. So we already have that against us before we even start with our health care.
Could you just tell about your experience in the cities as compared to what happened here?
Okay, yeah. John and I were talking on the way here tonight, and I told him that the type of cancer I had was one of the most invasive and aggressive, fast-growing types of cancer. I caught it very early, very small lump. Within 4 days, I had a mammogram, a biopsy, and knew that I had this cancer. Within a week more, I had a cancer care team that took me through, walking me through what would happen. Here's when you meet the doctor. Here's when you'd meet a surgeon. Here's when you'd meet the radiologist and the chemotherapy doctors, who they were. I had a team right away. I didn't have to worry hardly a minute that I wasn't being taken care of right away and learning of things as fast as they did. Within 3 weeks, I had the lump removed. Another 2 weeks after that, I had started chemo. That was wonderful. I only had to go 5 miles to get my chemo, and when it came time for my radiation treatments, I had to drive 6 miles. If that happened to me today in Browerville, Minnesota, I would have to drive over 50 miles to get even the most basic chemo type of treatments and radiations. 50 miles. When you are in fear, you don't know what's going on, you're not feeling well, and whatever. And to add the expense, because it costs more in our area to be treated, that's not the way we should have to have it in rural Minnesota.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Go on to your next stuff.
Okay. The next cause is with the heart disease. You can also follow up with stroke and blood clot fractures. I was not surprised, but every one of the sites I looked at said mental health issues were at least the fourth leading cause of death and problems for women. And basically, that is a lack of recognition that we have a problem and treatment. Just for an example, women are more likely to have a rise in Alzheimer's over the next 3 years. 6 million Americans have Alzheimer's. 2/3 of them are women. Why is that? We need more research. We need more treatment. We can't let this take over people.
I'd like to interject just a second here, since up till about now, get my hand out of the camera here. Up until now, most of the doctors were men. And men have had a tendency to disregard women's problems on here. You know, they'll just call it hysteria, or you're going through that time of month, or it's PMS, or
Mhm.
you are having the change, and that's basically BS on here because women are underdiagnosed and inadequately treated. That's why it's really great that more women doctors actually are
Mhm.
going through school now than men doctors on there, and we need to make sure that we have, women are treated and understood as well as men
Mhm.
are. Because all the studies have been based on men on that,
Mhm.
which has helped me personally, but it's got to be equal. Okay,
Um,
next.
Yeah.
Depression is not recognized. It is not being treated. There are not enough healthcare providers and psychologists, psychiatrists, uh, and centers for anybody that really needs psychiatric help.
Mhm.
It's really a shame that suicide is the fourth leading cause of death to women in Minnesota.
Yep.
And over 60% of them, excuse me, I said that wrong. Over the age of 60, they have the depression and the anxiety,
Mhm.
more severe.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah. Well.
and it leads on and on to many different kinds of healthcare problems for women, especially maternal type of healthcare for the younger women. We don't have the obstetricians, we don't have the obstetric centers. 42 counties in Minnesota lack birthing services, and there's a decline in the obstetric services in those areas. Rural women are less likely to have a gynecologist to screen for mammograms, pap smears, and the colon and rectal cancers. So it's so stacked against us. We need to change these odds. We need to pay attention. We need to use our votes for people like John and Julia to get out there and help us. Because I'm not willing to sit back and just say, oh, gee, I'm sick. I can't do anything about it. We don't have the transportation to get people there. We don't have the buses, the Ubers, the taxis that the larger towns have in the country. In fact, if you don't hire a driver, you can't get down to the cities if you don't have your own car, or because there aren't even any Greyhound bus stations to get to.
No. Mm.
So we have to work on a multifaceted thing. It's not just the money, but we've got to get people in there that can give good advice and help them make decisions and form laws and get us the care we need. And I agree with Jennifer June here. It says women, most studies are or were done by white men. Yes. Minnesota is rural areas are the fastest growing cultural diversity, racial diversity areas in the state. People are moving here. We've got jobs. We've got to get their housing. We've got to get them their health care. And we got to take care of them and their families. And so I guess I'm going to let you talk some more.
You're gonna let me talk some more?
Yeah,
Well,
I don't want
pretty,
to hog this because
no,
they're
no.
the candidates.
Well, I've told a lot of people that she should be the candidate, but that's uh, anyway. Going along here, yes, women have been made second-class citizens. Julia and I were talking a little bit about spending versus investing.
Mhm.
Okay, and invest. I've had women bosses. They are some of the best bosses I've ever had in my life. I've had women partners. They were great. I do happen to know that there's a certain representative in 10A that once said, when I was talking to him about the fact that when I was teaching college computer classes, I only had 3 women in there. And he came back and said, well, women just can't handle math and science.
Yeah.
So
I wasn't there.
I decided to stop with that. But
Yeah.
because, if we don't treat women right, we are losing a great resource in this part of the country because women are a vital part of our economy. They keep everything together. They think a little bit different than men, which is great because we need to see different types of thinking in here on there. But that's where we have to work. We will be investing, not spending money to help women's health care. And just by helping women's health care, by a priori, we'll be helping men's health care. So, and we'll have more talent going on there. I'd also like to say that there's a great, we have a lot of working women here that are doing very hard jobs. And it's hard for them to get the health care that they need because they may not speak the language, because they have to support 3 kids alone on
Mhm.
there. Those are all the type of things that we've got to help. So when we're tying together things, we need the daycare to make sure, and then that when we get a woman gets sick, we got the care for the kids and everything like that. So right now, is there any questions from the audience that they would ask before we go on to the next topic in here? I'll give you a minute or two to type something in. But the next topic is I'm actually going to talk about some of the new abortion laws here
Mm.
and some statistics. So we'll see if we have anything. No questions here.
Can I ask the audience if they or anyone they know has had cancer? Anyone out there?
Okay.
State funded childcare. Oh, okay.
Yep.
Families. Grandma had grandma.
Aunt
Okay.
had ovarian.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you need to pay attention to that family history.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that you have the cancer gene. Because that was one of the first things I did after my cancer was I went over to the University of Minnesota for gene testing to see if I had the cancer gene. And I did not. And we actually pulled my aunt's pathology reports. She had died of ovarian cancer. And she didn't have the gene either. So our cancers were caused by a pollutant. There's something in our environment that is causing carcinogens, higher levels of carcinogens and pathogens that are happening in our environment. And keep in mind, when you hear let's say your city council recite what their acceptable levels are for carcinogens and pathogens in the water, keep in mind that there's still 25% of the population that has a lower susceptibility, or I should say a higher, whichever way you want to look at it. Even if they got it, even if they're in those exact ranges, there's still 25% that have a higher likelihood of contracting cancer. And can I just add one more thing? I did my own research afterwards, and I had the health department help me with my research with statistics, and we pulled for 4 zip codes. And you could see in 1990, the cancer rate spiked 75%.
Wow.
So there was something in the water. So I proved it came from the tap water. There were 3 of us on my 1 block radius that all contracted different kinds of cancer, and I'm the only survivor.
Wow.
And like I said, when I completed my study, I presented my findings to my city council. And I went back to the guy that I had talked to years ago about the water quality. And but anyway, they just covered the butts. But I like to think that ever since then, they now have a special section in their newsletter about water quality, and they did change the acceptable levels for carcinogens and pathogens and higher level for sending out boil orders. Because when this happened to us, they didn't send out a boil order because, oh, it's all within acceptable ranges, so we're not going to do anything. Well, so anyway, and I'm the only one that spoke up. Because the rest of them were dead. And
Yeah.
so I just try to, I try to tell my story as often as I can to let particularly women know that you have to speak up and you do have to do your exams and just always be on the lookout for this stuff. Because you can't, even our well water, we're starting to get worried about. In certain areas, there's sulfite happening. And we don't know what sulfite will do as far as cancer and all that kind of stuff. So there again.
Well, 80% of the wells in Iowa have the farmers can't use because of high levels of nitrates. And we have
Nitrates.
areas here in Minnesota with nitrate poisoning in there. Okay. We are working there to get a couple people have just texted me about trying to get in. They're trying to get in through Messenger, and I sent them links. But anyway, so the thing, one of the big concerns that have changed in women's health care is the abortion issue and women's autonomy over their body. Yeah, and thank you, Jennifer. Jennifer just said it's important to get your well water tested. You can get kits from your county, and we've got to do that again. I haven't done it since we got married, by the way. So
get with it.
Yeah,
get with it.
Because if you hire somebody, it's pretty expensive. It's up to $300 to have somebody come out and test it.
Yeah. So anyway, talking about abortion, since Roe v. Wade has been put to the states, infant mortality in the country has gone up 7%, and infant mortality in Texas has gone up 10%. So that's probably because we're having babies born that weren't going to live, so we're putting through pain. Now, here's another thing that's interesting. Women's mortality when they're pregnant is raised 26%, and for Black women, 38%. Those are some of the consequences of long-term, very strong laws against abortions on there. And when they were talking in there, when there happens to be a third trimester abortion, one is the women's health that's the big majority. The woman is probably going to die if there's going to be a problem. The second reason is in there is that the baby has developed a fetal problem on there, and that they're going to they were probably not going to make it at the time. There was a story, this was on Science Friday yesterday. I got it in a podcast. They're talking to a doctor. A woman, when she was in her second trimester, had it tested, and they said, well, there's a 75% chance your baby will be completely normal, and a 25% there'll be a problem on there. And she said, well, she decided she wanted to go take the chance. 75% was pretty good on there. They got into the third trimester, and they said, you're not in the 75%, you're in the 25%. And it's almost certain that your baby is not going to survive the first week. So they had a third trimester abortion for that lady. She was, first of all, it's heartbreaking. A lot of the people, when they go through this type of things on here, they don't want an abortion. They want their baby. And if you put restrictive laws in there, you are messing with the decisions. That's what could possibly be the most heartbreaking thing that's ever happened in your life. Plus the fact that if you have a miscarriage in Texas, you may be accused of having abortion because it's similar to the procedure that they have to do an abortion is to clean out the stuff for the miscarriage. So should the government make the decision for a woman? No. Should the doctor make the decision for the woman? No. Should the woman, and with the best advice she can get, make the decision? That's what I feel should be done. So that's what's happening in there. Julie, do you have any comments on what I just said?
I just want to reiterate very strongly what you just said. Geez, I got to think of something to add to it. It's, yeah, being a mother, I can't imagine. I just can't imagine. And I know I came close to having an abortion years and years and years ago. But it wound up being a miscarriage. But the good part about that is my doc said that just primes the pump. So sure enough, next time around, I have a healthy baby boy, and he's now 37. That I just could not imagine not having him. And but he was only 10 when I went through my cancer thing, and I was a single parent, and I didn't have the most friendly bedside oncologist. And anyway, I almost died. And but she scolded me right there in front of my son. And then when she left, my son was a mess. So we need better doctors too that have better bedside manner and know how to handle in a family, how to handle that with a family rather than scolding somebody and saying, you did the wrong thing. But anyway, and Kathleen, and your story about having a team, and that is very important. So when you do have a cancer team, don't break it up. I did my surgery down at Mayo, and then the rest of it in the cities, in Twin Cities. And I kept getting infections, and I almost died twice. And all because I basically had broken up that team. So I had to go see another surgeon in the cities and try to get help that way to keep these staph infections. I kept getting the infections. Anyway, and that dragged out chemo, of course, and because they don't want you to. But still, and back to the abortion issue, that is very so personal. And I guess I just want to encourage mothers and young women that you don't need to be ashamed. This is your health, and you have to be proud of it and to be bold with it. I know I was way too cushiony because I still had old messages going on. Well, girls are stupid. You're just supposed to shut up and listen. And it's taken a long time to recover from those old messages. And how many of you have had those nonverbal messages going on that hinder you from really caring for yourself and being bold enough to stand up and say, this is what I need. This is what I want. And it's okay. It is okay to stand up and say what you need. But yeah, and have those good doctors and have that team ready for you. And needs to be affordable. You got that right, Lillian.
Yeah,
that's what we're working on. Yep.
And the thing is, me being a math nerd, in here. I did a few calculations, and if to pay for universal health care in this country, my taxes personally for the both of us would go up $4,000. We pay a lot more than $4,000 for our insurance and for our medications.
Yep.
On there, even it out. I know a person that's 21 and at that age, and when you're immortal, you're going to live forever, and never had a pulled muscle in your life or anything like that. They seem it's a little bit unfair, but no, it's not. And I mean, keeping grandparents are important. My son actually would go to a nursing home when he was and he adopted a senior citizen, and she adopted him, and he would go visit and talk to her every week. And this is when he was 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So he did that. So,
nice.
But that's the type of thing, we have to worry about everybody. And, even when you're 21 years old and you're in a car accident, you could be broke the rest of your life. In fact, her son was in a car accident, had to be airlifted, right?
$32,000, and that was 20 years ago.
32,000 20 years ago.
Wow.
So that was for the airlift, or was that for the treatment?
He's ever grateful to his mother for slapping him in the chest with his Blue Cross bill saying, "Pay it now, today. Here's the stamped envelope, and I'll drive you to the post office." And the next week he had his accident. Otherwise, he would have been canceled.
Oh, God.
But for a person starting out in their early 20s to face just that part of the medical bill, not the St. John's bill, not the other stuff, just the airlift.
Golly.
So anyway, that's kind of what's happening there. I think, and some.
I wanted to say something too. I've been reading Jennifer's and Lillian's messages here, and they're both very good information here. The one about the maternal care for women of color is already subpar, and yes, it is.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the difference between going into a area that's generally just Caucasian with people of all financial classes and going into an hospital that has multicultural, multiracial services. And they are just geared for the box cookie cutter diagnosis and everything else. And it is very different if you're not educated in how to take care of a person of a different race. You can really make some very bad mistakes very quickly.
Yes.
And the hospitals try to have diversity teaching, but it only goes so far. We need more. We need to understand that this person is different from this one, and it's not just going to be this one little way of doing something. Also, for affordable health care, accessibility to these people that don't have a ride. People of middle class don't always understand that people that are living paycheck to paycheck, it's hard to find a bus fare, taxi fare, Uber. You're not going to tell them just Uber. They can't Uber. They have to work and pay for their bills. They have to go to work. They can't take time off sick. We need to change it so that everybody, if they're sick, they can stay home. They can take care of their kids. They don't need to worry about losing their jobs because this is the third time somebody's had chest colds and have to go to the doctor. I've seen that happen to quite a few different nursing assistants that I've worked with. They call in because they have to take care of their families and their husbands earn more. So the person that earns less stays home. And then they wind up in more financial trouble. So we need to make it accessible and affordable.
Okay. And I think it was Lillian that had said, talking about daycare.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we need daycare so
Hmm.
badly.
Yeah.
We just need them. Okay.
Daycare people that work in daycares earn so little, and they're taking some of our most precious
Hmm.
little beings and taking care of them. And they need to be paid well. They need to be educated well, and they need to take care of our kids in a good
Facility.
facility. Yes.
Okay. Lillian mentions about the Supreme Court. I kind of agree about the term limits. The code of ethics is so important right
Oh, yes.
now.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we've got a couple
Well-
people in here that it's no problem that I'm taking $1 million from people that trips
Mhm.
that I'm going to try their cases in courts, and I see no reason why I need to not
Yeah.
join there.
Recuse yourself.
Thank you for the proper term there.
Yeah.
But anyway, Lillian, that's a very good comment. We have somebody that keeps popping on and popping off, must be having problems on here. But people, will want to tell you, this will still be available on my Facebook to show somebody else later. And you can make comments later on here on that. I am on a committee for daycare on here. We're going to be opening what's called pods here in Long Prairie, and that's something that they did in Wilmer on there. They took an old motel, and they divided up for individual healthcare people on there. Okay, it's Jennifer that's having problem with rural internet. By the way, I'm on the Tide County broadcast. But
I shouldn't laugh. Not
yeah,
funny.
I know it's a problem on there.
It is.
They're putting pods, and so they're going to have individual daycares. And the only problem is when they're setting this type of stuff is each one have to have their own playground on there. And so they're dividing up playgrounds for that, but most of them will not be out at the same time. But they can have smaller ones on there and have the pods, and they'll be inspected and all that, and make it more affordable. It'll be government supported, but more affordable for the daycare provider and more affordable for the parents if they can make it affordable things. I do think on there, it is terrible. It is beyond belief that it costs more money to take your kids to daycare than you could possibly earn in
Take care of them.
a regular job on there. And, not all of us, I never lived close to a grandparent. I mean, one of my
We don't live close to any of our grandkids.
No, we don't live close. So we can't be the daycare provider. And the people that say that it works for the majority of the people, well, that's JD. You are a liar. So on that. So it's just kind of tough. And I do know one person that's running for office, and it's not against the person you're running against, Julia, but he believes that the women should stay home and take care of the kids, and the men should provide. And I think my wife would probably kill me if she had to stay home.
Yeah.
You can stay home. I'm gone.
Yeah.
So,
We get stuff done.
So, but yeah. So I mean that it's with the guys too. We have to make sure that we understand that women's has needs outside of home.
Yeah.
That's
We can't be it's like what I used to tell my son when he was little. If we don't take care of ourselves emotionally, physically, socially, spiritually, that juice pitcher that I have inside, it gets kind of empty, and I'm not, so I got to get it filled up every once in a while so I can give my son or whoever that cup of juice to nurture them. And so it is so important that we are not invincible, that we do need to take care of ourselves holistically. It's not just one thing. It's like I said in my intro, everything is interconnected. You can't consider one without the other.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
Say, AJ, I was
Yeah.
going to ask you to explain a little bit more about these pods for childcare
Okay.
that they experimented with.
Well, Wilmer's running them.
William,
on that. And Long Prairie is trying to get funding to do them on here. A pod, okay. A pod is like individual cabins in a resort.
Oh, okay.
Or rooms in a motel. That's been done. They refix it up. They bring it up to code on there. On there, and then what they're doing is and then what they do is they help people open up in one of the rooms or two of the rooms, put a door between the two different rooms on there, or have the different little cabins on there, and they have daycare, and they're helping people do this type of thing. I can probably get you information on it. I was in a meeting with our chamber on here. Special is Jennifer, when you say special family child care licensing, could expand on that just a little bit? Of course, I can Google it too. So,
That's a technical term these days. Okay.
yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
On there.
Special family child care. Okay.
Licensing. That's great. Thank you on there. Part of this is for us candidates, we need to know what people are thinking out there and what they're interested in.
There's so much needed that it's hard to always know where to direct your attention.
And there. Okay. So I think we pretty much covered women's health care on there. There's a lot of different topics we can talk about. If there's any specific question, if I don't get any questions in the next 5 minutes, we're going to have closing statements here.
Okay. Can I?
Yes, you may.
I'm going to offer up something along this line. I was at PBS, Lakeland PBS, that was on TV with Ron Krisha a couple of weeks ago, and that one of the things he brought up as we were talking about childcare, as most GOP candidates talk about, that that childcare is overregulated. So they get on this thing about, well, if they weren't so heavily regulated, they wouldn't cost so much or something, But I almost went to tears during this TV thing, because now I didn't say it was my son, but my son was sexually molested at age 4 by my child care's son. And had those regulations been in place back then, it would have saved us a lot of anguish and money, because he and I pretty much have been in counseling ever since. Because it's not something you ever really recover from, not at that age. And so I just want to point out to mothers and everybody out there that our debates are not so much about it's about policy. It's not about regulation. It's about helping people. It's about making sure we have safe places for our children, safe places for us. Regulation doesn't cost us. It costs us when we don't have it. This is, again, another investment. So I just encourage everybody to recognize that these are not spent dollars for nothing. These are dollars that are being invested, and they do return healthy communities.
Well, regulation's been brought up almost every debate and forum that I have, and basically Michelle Fishbach harps on regulations for nursing homes. She wants to almost get rid of them because
Yeah.
they're closing on there.
Mhm.
And I turned around and I said, the first senior that dies because you take regulations away, I'm putting it at your feet.
Yeah.
Isn't that about what I said?
Mhm.
So, and she kind of him and hawed for a few seconds about that. She said, well, that's not showing what's, blah, 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 blah. But
Yeah.
anyway, and the same thing, they brought up regulations that were over-regulating the thing. And I didn't have a chance to say anything to that one, but I would have said the same thing that you said. The first child that gets sick because of poor nutrition, the 1st
Mhm.
child that when they're not watching them, or bad playground equipment gets hurt, you're watching it. We got to take care of our senior citizens, healthy. And it's not a matter of
Kids.
cost. It's a matter of investment in our kids, investment in the stuff. And we first care is take care of the people that are most likely to be hurt, most likely to be overrun with our problems based on people trying to make a profit.
Yep.
And Jennifer, also the regulations on building codes, they're there because the studies have shown that the heavily regulated have a longer,
Mhm.
less repair than the people that aren't
Mhm.
on there. So it saves the builder and the owner money. So
Yeah.
that's and that everybody worries about what it costs the first day
Yeah.
and they want to do it.
Yeah. So Jennifer's got some good comments here. Thank you, Jennifer. Childcare facility closed. Wow. Response I
Yeah,
got
we
from
lost.
GOP candidates was that it was the Dems' fault for all of the regulations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in this case, it wasn't. It's the Trinity Church, Lutheran Church up here closed, and that's had 30 kids.
Mm,
The reason they closed is because they could not get enough people to take care of the kids
yeah.
They were.
because they do not earn enough money
Mhm.
to stay there.
Mhm.
You get somebody working, you learn how to do it, and all of a sudden they found out, well, I can earn twice, 3, 4 times being a barmaid, or
Yeah.
work at McDonald's, and
Mhm. And
and
they can
that,
get health care benefits.
yeah. So I mean, yeah, I refuse to accept the responsibility
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the fact that they don't care about people. Okay. Um, well, I think we've got quite a bit covered here. Again, I will say this is all
Yeah.
going to be up on my Facebook page on there. People can, I think we got some good topics here today. I hope you guys agree on that. I think everybody understands where we stand with women's health care and about health, people in general.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's important that people are put first whenever we're making a decision. Their health, their safety, uh,
The
and
well-being.
and also their comfort levels because it's
Mhm.
where we're at. So uh, you can send me you can keep making comments on this website afterwards. We'll both be glad to look at it. And I'd like to thank people for being here tonight. And we've been here 53 minutes and 54
Wow.
minutes now.
Oh, how time flies when you're having
Yeah.
fun.
So I really appreciate you guys coming
Yeah,
today. And
I do too.
thank you very much for your time.
Julia, do you have a
Thank you.
closing statement or
Do you have a
anything?
closing statement?
Oh, I don't know if I should go through the whole closing. But I do want to reiterate that we stand at the dawn of a new era of economic growth and prosperity and opportunity. And we're just started. But if the GOP gets in there, all of our progress will be for naught. And I just really want to get the word out there. I'm almost in tears just even thinking about that. How could that be? But together we can work towards a brighter, better future in Minnesota where economic prosperity, affordable housing, affordable health care, environmental sustainability, and quality education with mental health services are accessible to all and respect for human rights for all. So thank you all for being here, and just bless your heart and keep up the good fight.
Yep. And Lillian, thank you for the nice words.
Yeah.
And
Thank
Jennifer.
you.
And Jennifer. So
Yeah, Jennifer, thank you so much.
thank you. Okay.
Okay.
Have a
Good
nice
night.
night.
Night, night. Thank you.